Ooltewah, Tennessee is one of Chattanooga's fastest growing suburbs, but is that a good thing? In this video, I'm going to break down the pros and cons of living in Ooltewah, Tennessee. I'm currently standing here in Little Debbie Park, which is in Collegedale, and Collegedale is a city that's actually located in Ooltewah. There's a lot of confusion about what Ooltewah actually is. It's just a census area mainly made up of the 37363 zip code in Hamilton County. Before we jump into the video, just a little bit about me. I grew up very near to Ooltewah and spent a lot of time over here in my childhood. And now I actually live here in Ooltewah. I've lived here for going on 3 years. So I really do consider this place to be home and pretty much where I was raised. Also, I am a licensed real estate agent in both Georgia and Tennessee. So if you're looking to buy or sell in the area, let me know. Okay, let's get into the pros and cons of living in Ooltewah, Tennessee. The first pro is that overall Ooltewah is still quite affordable. Now, prices have risen over the past couple of years, but they've risen everywhere, and Ooltewah still remains about 11 to 12% below the national average when it comes to cost of living. So while you're probably not going to be able to buy a mansion like you can in Dallas, Texas for 300 grand, you can find a fairly decent house here in the 400s. Additionally, there are a lot of new neighborhoods being constructed in Ooltewah right now. So there are some developments bringing in smaller single-family homes. There are new construction and that are a little bit more on the affordable side. There are also larger, more luxurious developments going in. There really are a lot of different price points in the Ooltewah area. So that's a huge pro. Another pro to Ooltewah is the schools. Now, I'm not gonna go too into this, but if you want to look at the ratings of the schools in Ooltewah, I'd encourage you to check out greatschools.org. I'll leave a link to that in the description below. Ooltewah is known for having decent private and public options, and so if schools matter to you, that would definitely be something to look into when considering moving to Ooltewah. Another huge pro to Ooltewah is the economy in the area and Ooltewah's location relative to a number of major employers. Like I mentioned, I'm standing here in Little Debbie Park. McKee Foods, the makers of Little Debbie, are actually based very close to here. They have a plant just up the road that way, and then they have a couple of plants in their corporate headquarters back down the road over there. So they are one of the major employers that's actually located here in Ooltewah itself. Just outside of Ooltewah is Volkswagen's Chattanooga location. I mean, literally just minutes from here. We're about 5, maybe 7 minutes away from Volkswagen's plant, right where I'm standing right now. What's great about this is that the employment opportunities that come from Volkswagen are pretty expansive. For example, you have all of the suppliers that support Volkswagen. You've got companies like TNM, Sese, Gestamp, and a bunch of other industries that support Volkswagen. In addition to that, right over by Volkswagen's plant, there is an Amazon fulfillment center, and so that is a major employer in the area. There are also a number of healthcare facilities surrounding that area as well. So if you work in healthcare, if you work in manufacturing, logistics, there are tons of options in this area. Another thing that's really convenient about Ooltewah's location is it's perfectly between Cleveland, Tennessee and downtown Chattanooga. So you have all the employers up in Cleveland, and then just on your other side, you have the employers downtown Chattanooga. I recently worked with a few clients where the husband worked over in Cleveland and the wife worked downtown Chattanooga. And so moving to Ooltewah was actually the perfect split between their jobs, and it made commute times a lot less for both of them. Another huge pro to living in Ooltewah is the outdoor lifestyle. So parts of Ooltewah are all the way out on the lake. You have Savannah Bay, which feeds into Harrison Bay, and Harrison Bay is along the Tennessee River. So if you're looking for lakefront property in Ooltewah, that is something that we have. There are also amazing golf course communities in Ooltewah. You've got the Ooltewah Club and Windstone. These are both fabulous places with great access to golf. There are tons of trails for mountain biking and for hiking and trail running. And so if that's something you're into, that is definitely an option here. In addition, there is also a greenway going along the Ooltewah Creek. Where I am right now in Little Debbie Park, these sidewalks that are going around the area I'm standing, those actually connect in with the greenway. You can run from here all the way along the greenway, which runs along the Ooltewah Creek, for about 4, maybe 5 miles. You can get about 10 miles of running in by going out and back, and this is a family favorite in the Ooltewah area. In the evenings when the weather is nice, you'll see families out there taking the dog for the walk. There's a Veterans Memorial Park there and the Imagination Station Park, and these are both really popular places for kids to go play. In addition, here in Collegedale, there are pickleball courts, and over at Southern Adventist University, there are some other courts and things that are available to the public. So there are tons of fabulous outdoor activities to do in the Ooltewah area. The fifth pro to living in Ooltewah is that in recent years, there have been a number of amazing amenities that have come in. We have two Publix locations in Ooltewah, one over on Snow Hill and one on Ooltewah Ringgold Road. There are also a number of other grocery stores, and there is the community favorite Cambridge Square. Now, Cambridge Square is an upscale retail and restaurant space. There are all these beautifully constructed buildings with amazing local restaurants and businesses that are in that area. And from the sounds of it, they do plan to expand and continue to expand Cambridge Square. So that's the final pro that we're going to cover in this video. There are amazing restaurants and retail locations coming to Ooltewah all the time. While Ooltewah has a lot of great things going for it, there are some major drawbacks. Let's get into those. The first is traffic and congestion. As I mentioned, in 2020, there was about 41,000 people living in the Ooltewah area. Since then, there have been numerous very large subdivisions approved, and I believe that there are over 1,000 homes that have been approved and are currently in various stages of either planning or actual construction. And so there is a lot of demand to live in this area, and because of that, you're starting to see a lot of congestion and a lot of traffic. Now, there are efforts being made to fix this. There are currently projects going on East Brainerd Road on the southern end of Ooltewah. Apison Pike is currently having a lot of road work done. In fact, a very large bridge is about to open on Apison Pike, and that should alleviate some of the traffic problems that we've been having. But traffic here is absolutely a problem. If you're commuting to downtown during rush hour, it could take a really long time to get from downtown back home or from your house to downtown. There has been a lot of construction along the route between Ooltewah and downtown recently, and so I've heard people saying that sometimes it's taking them up to an hour to drive from Ooltewah to downtown. This is definitely something to consider. The traffic is usually not nearly as bad as it is in places like Nashville or Atlanta, but it can be pretty bad. Another con to this area is how rapid the growth has been. Because there's so much demand for housing in the area, there's been a lot of struggle for the infrastructure to keep up with how many houses and things are being built. In fact, I know that they were having trouble adding more houses to the sewer system because I think it's pretty close to being at capacity. Over off of Snow Hill Road, which is a major area with a lot of residential developments off of it, there was recently a developer that was trying to get a project approved, and there was a ton of backlash from the community on getting this property approved. Anyways, they're still trying to get that pushed through because of how much other housing is going into the area. It's proving to be really difficult for them to get that approved. So what does this mean for people considering moving to the area? It means that schools could be really crowded. It means that utilities could be strained. These are just things to consider if you're thinking about moving to Ooltewah. A third con is the rapidly rising home values. Now, this could actually be a pro if you already own a home, but if you're trying to buy in the area, then I think time is working against you. In the Ooltewah area right now, home prices have been rising steadily. The rising home prices are making it really difficult for first-time home buyers or people on more limited budgets to move to the area. But if you want to buy in an area that has quite a bit of potential for future growth, then this could actually be a pro. So if you're looking to put your money in a place that is likely to keep growing, then Ooltewah could be a good option for you. Okay, the fourth con to living in Ooltewah is that there is virtually no public transit. If you decide to move to Ooltewah, you will pretty much need to own a car unless you work in Ooltewah and live very close to your place of work. In Chattanooga, there is the CARTA bus system, but I do not believe that they come all the way out to Ooltewah. And so it would be very, very difficult to live here without owning a car. Okay, and the fifth con to living in Ooltewah, and in fact, this applies to most of Chattanooga in general, but that is that the weather and the environment can be a little harsh. In this area, we do get tornadoes. I think in Ooltewah, we've had 3 tornado watches over the past 6 months. I do not believe we've had an actual tornado here yet in 2025, but tornadoes do happen. In addition, in the summer, it gets really hot and humid. As of recording this video, it is June 2nd. I'm standing out here in the middle of the day and I'm starting to sweat a little bit. It's It's pretty warm. I think we're about 83 degrees right now, but the humidity is making it feel much warmer. Another environmental concern for a lot of people is that the pollen count in this area can get pretty high. We've got a lot of blooming trees and flowers, and then Chattanooga itself is in a valley, and so you've got all these mountains, and the pollen tends to come in, it settles, and then it has a hard time washing out. Right now the pollen is not too bad. That was a couple of months ago. A couple of months ago you would walk outside and you could just see the yellow pollen building up on your car, and it was one of the most frustrating things because no matter how many times you washed your car, it would still have a coat of yellow pollen on it. So these are all things to think about when considering moving to Ooltewah. Overall, I think that the pros far outweigh the cons. In fact, I'm currently in the process of building a house in Ooltewah, so I'm pretty attached to living here. I don't plan to go anywhere. Well guys, that is gonna be it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it or learned anything, don't forget to like and subscribe and leave a comment down below. And if there's anything that you wanna know about living in the Chattanooga area, make sure to let me know in the comments. If you made it this far in the video, YouTube thinks that you're gonna like this video here, so go ahead and check that out. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.